Activists rallied for justice in downtown LA. Tonight, the family speaks out as they continue to grieve their loss.
U.S. Senator Dianne Feinstein makes a new push for gun control. We have details and reaction to her proposal against assault rifles.
And California is suing the federal government. We'll tell you why. Annenberg TV News is next.
Live from USC, you're watching Annenberg TV News.
Two years after a woman died in an LAPD holding cell, her family is demanding answers. Good evening, I'm Tommy Brooksbank.
And I'm Hamda Salhout. Today, activists confronted LA police commissioners. Annenberg Media's Anissa Claiborne was at the meeting where emotions ran high.
We determined that the missing tape did not impact our decision.
Those are the words that triggered an emotional reaction at today's Los Angeles Police Commissioners meeting. Activists gathered to remember Waukesha Wilson, the 35-year-old woman who died while in police custody exactly 2 years ago today. She was arrested on suspicion of battery. Less than 24 hours later, she was found dead in her holding cell. Police said it was suicide, but the family doesn't believe it.
They know they're wrong. They know that they killed my niece. Now you heard her say 20 minutes. How did you come to the conclusion? That conclusion, and you don't have all the facts.
They don't have all of the facts because a critical part of the jail surveillance video is missing.
All that the members of this dais can be responsible for is trying to be as accurate as possible in the report. The 22 minutes that are missing, it just, I don't know what happened, and it just is what it is.
Would you please take a recess, Mr. President?
We're going to take a recess. In fact, we're going to go into closed session.
The commissioners abruptly ended the meeting.
This commission is supposed to be an oversight board for the police in this city, so we are here every week demanding that they do their jobs. This is how family members of people who've been slain by law enforcement in this city get treated.
A representative from LAPD told Annenberg Media it has no comment on the death of Waukesha Wilson or what happened today. After the commissioners' meeting, members of Waukesha Wilson's family placed a plaque outside of the LAPD detention center. Their message? They will not rest until they find out what really happened the day she died. For Annenberg Media, I'm Anissa Claiborne.
Thanks for that report, Anissa. California's Department of Justice announced today it will oversee a Sacramento police investigation into the shooting death of an unarmed black man. Stephon Clark was killed by police officers just 10 days ago.
My team and I at the California Department of Justice will do everything in our power to ensure that this investigation is fair, thorough, and impartial.
Clark was shot and killed in his grandmother's backyard by officers responding to reports of vandalism. Police say they thought the 22-year-old was pointing a gun at them, and they fired 20 shots. No weapon was found at the scene, and the only item discovered was a cell phone.
They didn't have to kill him like that. They didn't have to shoot him that many times. Why did you shoot him in the arm, shoot him in the leg, send a dog, send a taser? Why?
Sacramento police released body cam videos of the shooting as well as radio transmissions, but still, protesters took to the streets demanding justice for Clark. On Sunday, the Sacramento Kings players wore special shirts to honor Stephon Clark. The front of the pregame warm-up top said, quote, "Accountability, we are one," and the back of the shirt said, hashtag Stephon Clark. Clark's family has hired civil rights attorney Benjamin Crum. He represented the families of Trayvon Martin, Tamir Rice, and Michael Brown. The two officers involved have been placed on paid administrative leave during the investigation. No charges will be filed against two Baton Rouge police officers in the shooting death of an African-American man selling CDs on the sidewalk. Investigators concluded the officers were justified when they shot Alton Sterling.
After a thorough and exhaustive review of the evidence, the facts that can be established beyond a reasonable doubt, the law and jurisprudence of the state of Louisiana, and the obligations of prosecutors under the Code of Professional Conduct, the Louisiana Department of Justice cannot proceed with a prosecution of either Officer Lake or Officer Salamone.
Police say the two white officers tried to arrest Sterling and then shot him when they believed he was reaching for a gun. The family, however, says the shooting was not justified.
Alta can't tell this story to you nor to me. He's gone. There's no more coming back. So there's not no amount of money on this earth, in this world, that can give those kids back to their father. They took a human away. They took a father away.
Now, 4 new videos of the shooting are expected to be released by police later this week. An attorney for the Sterling family said when people see the videos, they will be, quote, outraged. According to the Washington Post, police have shot and killed nearly 1,000 people last year in the United States. 22% of those were black males and 44% were white males. So far this year, 253 people were killed by police.
Former Supreme Court Justice John Paul Stevens is calling for a complete repeal of the Second Amendment in an opinion piece in today's New York Times. Could that really happen? Annenberg Media's Cole Sullivan looked into it and joins us now. Cole?
Thanks, Tommy. First, let's look at exactly what the Second Amendment actually says. It's short, not too long, only 27 words, and reads, "A well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state, the right in the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed." And retired Justice John Paul Stevens thinks it's time to get rid of that amendment. In today's New York Times, the 97-year-old said the amendment is a, quote, relic of the 18th century. Repealing the Second Amendment, he said, would be simple and would do more to weaken the NRA than other gun control options. Simple? Well, with all due respect, Your Honor, it's a little more complicated than just repealing it. First, 2/3 of Congress, that's both the Senate and the House, has to approve a new constitutional amendment. Then 75% of the states must ratify it. That's a pretty high bar to clear, and it's only happened once before with the 21st Amendment back in 1933. That repealed prohibition. So it's not simple at all, especially once you consider the opposition. Take a listen to the president of a Los Angeles firing range.
Well, the problem is you keep taking a piece of the pie and there's more pie left. So, I mean, why don't we just take away cars too, or let's take away alcohol or smoking that kills a lot more people. The land of the free is not so much free anymore.
So it's nearly impossible to see how a Second Amendment repeal could happen, but some political strategists say just talking about it could actually make gun legislation more difficult.
So many rural states, so many states where I think people have very strong feelings about their right to own a gun. Having real universal background checks is on the table. Closing the gun show loophole is on the table. We shouldn't get distracted from that by a futile effort to repeal the Second Amendment.
So in some ways, the high school students who organized these big rallies over the weekend and led those marches are being more realistic about gun control. They're talking about changing laws, not the Constitution. Hamda, back to you.
Senator Dianne Feinstein says she will not be supporting a repeal of the Second Amendment, but Annenberg Media's Jordan Winters found out California's senior senator is still pushing for other gun control.
Thousands of people marched into the streets for gun control this weekend, but today, Senator Dianne Feinstein says she's marching to the Senate floor.
I hope that when we go back, we can pass the assault weapons legislation.
Since the mass shooting in Parkland, Florida, the California senator has been working on a bill to ban assault rifles, a bill that could be one of the first national gun control laws passed in decades. The senator authored a very similar law that Congress passed in 1994, but whether her previous ban achieved its goal is still unclear.
If you look at the data from Senator Feinstein's previous legislation, it's a little complicated because the senator frequently cites this book called Rampage Nation that says that her policy stopped mass shootings by 37%. But of course, the NRA cites this report from George Mason University that says that it didn't do anything at all.
For one Second Amendment advocate, this is coupled with the fact that most gun violence happens with handguns.
The problem is that there's a difference between doing something and doing something that's actually going to be effective and make a difference. It's kind of like saying, well, my car won't start, so gee, why don't I change the tires? Because, well, I've got to do something.
Questions about the effectiveness of a ban is shared by many members of Congress.
On my legislation, I have, I believe, 29 co-sponsors, and I don't think one is a Republican.
Her bill is one of 5 others currently working through Congress, all of which focus on different aspects of gun control. For Annenberg Media, I'm Jordan Winters.
California is suing the Department of Commerce over a controversial question about citizenship added to the 2020 census.
Since 1790, the census has counted citizens and non-citizens alike. We are simply trying to convey a very simple message. We want everyone to count.
Census data helps the government allocate federal aid and draw legislative districts. A question about citizenship status hasn't been a part of the census since the 1950s. The Justice Department says the move is necessary to enforce the Voting Rights Act, but several progressive representatives say that's not true, taking to Twitter to voice their concerns. Senator Kamala Harris said, quote, "The spirit of the census is that no one should go uncounted and no one should be invisible. By adding a citizenship question to the 2020 census, the administration is threatening its accuracy." Former Attorney General Eric Holder also condemned the move, saying, quote, "Constitution does not require citizenship question. This is purely political. Trump administration is trying to rig the 2020 census." We spoke to one Southern California immigration lawyer who says the census question should have major implications for California.
The population of the state includes both documented and undocumented people, and you'll have a lot of unreported people, I think, and a lot of unreported members of the population, which will directly affect how much money California receives. The president has been met with obstacles when it comes to implementing things that have proved to have ulterior motives.
Now more lawsuits could follow California's lead. The Brennan Center of Democracy program says they will file a lawsuit against the census question in the coming days.
A week into spring, and it's finally starting to feel like it. Paula Ilonze will have your weather forecast next.
And one of the busiest metro rail lines will be closing down for 8 months. Find out how this will affect you.
I'm here outside Bovard Auditorium, but just inside, rock band Young the Giant is speaking to USC students and faculty. Stay tuned for more.
Guess what? I have some news for you. There's free food right there, junk food. You see that truck? Oh, jeez. It's a 2 Michelin star chef. All for free, ladies and gentlemen. All for free.
Here we have a panzanella with summer vegetables and pesto. Enjoy. How we doing?
Fantastic. So what do you got going on underneath that plate there?
This food is really about to be thrown away.
Yeah.
Is there something wrong with this food? Where did you get it from?
From farmers markets. They put aside the ugly vegetables and the ugly fruits.
Carrot top, soft avocados. It was all food that was going to be discarded.
Even the drink you had is made from like a little bruised peach. Did it taste a little bruised?
Great. It was good.
The average person throws away 24 pounds of food a month.
That's a lot.
Isn't that a lot? Go visit SaveTheFood.com for more information. Thank you. Junk food time!
Adventure can be found anywhere, but the best place to start is in the forest.
I spy something beginning with S.
Snow?
No.
Snow-covered trees.
Nothing to do with snow.
Head outside to discover incredible animals and beautiful plants that come together to create an unforgettable adventure.
Wow.
So grab your loved ones.
Don't even.
And explore a world of possibilities.
Come on, this way.
Visit discovertheforest.org to find the closest forest or park to you.
Several student organizations have come together to host a night of conversation on equality and immigration. Annenberg Media's Taylor Edgehill is live at Bovard Auditorium where the talk is being held. Taylor?
Thanks, Tommy. I'm here outside Bovard Auditorium, where just a few moments ago, this area was crowded with USC students and faculty eager to attend an evening with Young the Giant, a speaker series event hosted by USC student organizations. And while Young the Giant is widely known for its musical hits like My Body and Cough Syrup, it's their album Home of the Strange, their latest album, which has brought them here tonight. In particular, one of the songs on this album, America, has sparked conversation conversation on immigration and equality, and it's these themes that will be most present in tonight's conversation. Now, talk about immigration and equality has actually been present on campus all day long. Earlier today, the Service Student Assembly hosted a refugee awareness fair.
Home means so many different things for so many people, and especially in an age where tens of millions of people don't have a home, I think it's really important to make sure that everyone understands the importance of it and understands the subjective value of it.
Yeah, when I first started listening to them, like in high school, I didn't really get that political appeal from them, but then when they came out with their newest album, I was like, wow, you know, they're trying to spread a really positive message. And I did look up lyric meanings, and, you know, I'm not personally an immigrant, but seeing like their viewpoints and what they had to struggle through and experience was really interesting to me and kind of shined like a new light upon the issue.
To bring Young the Giant for a conversation.
USC student-led organizations participated in the fair to bring awareness to the global refugee crisis. Students say they support refugee housing in the U.S. and are interested to hear the band's stance on the issue. An evening with Young the Giant started just a little bit ago at around 6 p.m. and is supposed to last until approximately 8 o'clock tonight. If you didn't get the chance to check out this particular conversation, be sure to look up USC's calendar of events for more going on throughout the rest of the semester. Back to you guys in the studio.
All right, thanks for that report, Taylor. The Metro Blue Line will undergo a $1.2 billion overhaul starting in January. That means the Blue Line will be shut down for the first 8 months of 2019. Annenberg Media's Max Goldwasser shows us the changes that will affect Metro riders.
The Blue Line is the Metro's oldest and most heavily used line. According to Curb Los Angeles, around 70,000 people ride the Blue Line every day. But some of those people are not pleased the Blue Line is closing for 8 months.
It's a terrible idea. A lot of people use it to go to work.
There's going to be a lot more congestion. It means I'm going to have to find a different way of getting to work.
It's really the only way I could get to work unless I take the bus or like take an Uber.
So the Blue Line won't be closed altogether for those 8 months. The repairs will actually be split into 2 phases. Now, if we take a look at the map, I can show you that in the first phase, from January through April, there will be no service from the Willowbrook station to the Long Beach station. Then starting in May, Metro will shut down the stretch from the Willowbrook station to right here in downtown LA. Metro Communications Manager Jose Ubaldo says there will be a replacement bus service to accommodate those affected. Ubaldo also says among the renovations will be new Metro cars and new power lines.
They're probably not going to notice anything big, but the major thing they will feel and will see is a better travel time from downtown Long Beach to downtown Los Angeles.
This marks the first time the Blue Line will be closed since it opened 28 years ago. The line is set to reopen in September 2019. For Annenberg Media, I'm Max Goldwasser.
Thanks for that, Max. Well, Hamda, it was such a nice day out today. I kind of wanted to get out of the studio and just head to the beach.
You know, I could not agree more. Let's toss it over to our weather anchor, Paula Ilonze, for more. Paula.
Sunshine and warm weather. It's finally like spring. Today was in the low 70s, but it only goes up from here, and it was pretty much a perfect quintessential sunny and 75. If you plan on being in the desert tomorrow, it will be scalding hot at 94 degrees, so definitely keep on your sunscreen and keep on the sun in the sunshades. And then over in the San Bernardino area, in the valley, it'll be in the mid 70s and nice and cool at the beach. Not quite beach weather in my opinion. I like it to be a little warmer than that. For the rest of this week, we'll see in the USC area, it'll be in the high 70s, pretty much throughout the region, and then a little cooler over in LAX at 73. Throughout the area for the rest of this week, we'll see the sun and warmth will continue. A warming trend settled in from the Pacific this afternoon, raising temperatures in Southern California to as high as 80 degrees by Thursday in some parts. This beautiful spring weather comes just in time for Easter this weekend, and there will be plenty of activities to keep you and your family enjoying the sun outdoors. Here's some of the things that you can get into over the holiday weekend. You can go to the Pershing Square Community Egg Hunt, Big Bunny's Spring Fling at the LA Zoo and Botanical Gardens, the Blessing of the Animals at Olvera Street, downtown LA, Easter Fest at Grand Hope Park, the Sunrise Service on the Battleship Iowa or the Exceptional Celebration at the LA County Arboretum. Hopefully you can pick one of those things from the plentiful list.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a lot going on for Easter weekend.
Yes.
Thanks, Paula.
At the beach, Paula.
Well, former USC wide receiver Joseph Lewis IV appeared in court today. Lewis was arrested in February and charged with 5 misdemeanors, including 2 for domestic violence. The judge today set a pretrial date for April 25th. So the weather has been pretty great recently, huh, Hamda?
That's right, Tommy. It has been great. Great for a swim day, right, Jody?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, just as warm and just as hot as this weather is, our USC's women's water polo team is just as hot as they're heating up in the pool as their season comes to an end. And the first team to clinch a berth in their playoff history as their first team in the NHL did that last night. And an MSU dean was arrested in the investigation associated with Larry Nassar. Sports are next.
Fancy pants peanut butter? A big screen television? You haven't even bought a sofa yet. A motorcycle? When your father finds out, he's gonna flip his shoes with 2 buckles? What do you even need 2 buckles for? Mr. Big Shot, buying whiskey shots for everybody in the bar. From the looks of it, I'd say nobody even remembers. Feed the pig.
Did you know parking over tall, dry grass can spark a wildfire?
Only you can prevent wildfires.
William Strample, a former dean at Michigan State University, was charged this morning with 4th-degree criminal sexual conduct, misconduct of a public official, and neglect of duty in his work with Larry Nassar. The former dean of the College of Osteopathic Medicine is the first person charged in connection with the investigation into MSU and Nassar that began in January. Strample is accused of sexually harassing female students and pressuring them for nude photos, of which about 50 were found on his computer.
As dean of the college, Strample abused the authority of his public office through threats and manipulation to solicit, receive, possess pornographic images of women who appear to be MSU students in violation of his statutory duty as a public officer.
More than 200 girls and women have filed lawsuits against Nassar and MSU. Lawyers for the university say they're restarting settlement talks in the civil lawsuits. And now jumping into the pool, our sports correspondent has an insider's look on what the women of Troy are doing. Angel?
Thanks, Jody. Coming off a 19-3 blowout victory against number 8 Pacific on Sunday, the 3rd-ranked USC women's water polo team finds itself riding a 6-game winning streak. And against the Tigers, it was a career day for sophomore Maud Meggins as she netted 7 goals on the afternoon in the women of Troy's most recent victory. USC also came away with big victories last weekend against number 6 Arizona State and number 15 Princeton.
We're working for that Arizona match and focusing on the weeks to come, but I think it's becoming evident that throughout our last couple weeks that we're really working towards NC2As and MPSFs.
For the 3rd time this season, USC swept the MPSF's weekly player awards as sophomore Denise Mamalito's 9 goals in 3 games clinched her Conference Player of the Week honors. As for freshman Paige Hochschild, she picked up her 3rd consecutive MPSF Newcomer of the Week award. The women of Troy will be back in action this weekend as they take on Hartwick at the Uitengsu Aquatic Center. And with just 5 games remaining in regular season play, the postseason is right around the corner for this team. Back to you, Jody.
Thanks, Angel. And now skating onto the ice, we're about 2 weeks away from the Stanley Cup playoffs. And last night, one team made history with their playoff berth. The Vegas Golden Knights took down Colorado 4-1 to clinch their spot in the playoffs. Less than a year ago, the Golden Knights were selecting players from the NHL expansion draft. Back then, team owner Bill Foley said that he wanted to see his team in the playoffs in 3 seasons. The Golden Knights are the 3rd expansion team in NHL history since 1980 to clinch a playoff spot. But they're the first team to ever clinch a spot in their inaugural season, as both the Whalers and the Oilers moved over from the now defunct World Hockey Association. Now, if the playoffs were to start tonight, the Golden Knights would take on the LA Kings. Now, last night, the Kings dominated the Calgary Flames 3-0. All 3 of the Kings' goals came in power plays, which helped them move back into playoff position. Now, with just 5 games left, the Kings will leave it all out on the ice in order to make the playoffs. Now, it's crunch time for teams on the bubble, just like the Kings, if they want to find themselves in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Now, I have to say, this is the best time of the year in hockey and arguably the best time in all of sports. The action begins on April 11th. I got to say, guys, April 11th, are you tuning in for the playoffs?
I know I'm going to be rooting for those LA Kings. I don't know about you, Hamda.
I'm rooting for you, Jody.
Hamda.
Thanks, Jody. Well, if you're feeling lucky, tonight might be your night.
We'll take a look at the jackpot at the Mega Millions after the break.
1 in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation.
America, let's do lunch.
Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer for Meals on Wheels by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
迷惑ボーイ。
ここはなんとかしなくちゃ。
スーパーカインドの交通機関案内。
When you ride on the bus or rail, don't eat popcorn, meat, or kale. Food can smell and it makes a mess. Keep LA Metro clean and fresh. Come along with me, let's go. It's time to ride on the Metro. When eating food causes problems, you know Superkind will be there to solve them. Come along with me, let's go. It's time to ride on the Metro. When eating food causes problems, you know Superkind will be there to solve them.
The California Mega Millions jackpot is the 2nd highest it's ever been, a whopping $458 million. The winning numbers will be released tonight. The prize increased from $421 million after there were no winners last week. At this rate, the total could beat the record set in January of 2016 when one person won $528 million. If you get a chance to watch the winning numbers, you still have time to buy a ticket. You have until 7:45 tonight.
Well, you guys know where I'm going to be after the show.
Buying a lottery ticket.
Exactly. I need to get that jackpot, guys.
Of course.
Are you guys going to buy some too, or no?
I might as well. I might tag along and go buy a ticket.
Right? Gotta get into
Definitely
the lottery, right? Well, thanks for watching Annenberg TV News. From everyone at Annenberg Media, I'm Tommy Brooksbank.
And I'm Hamda Salhout. For more news in and around the USC area, you can head over to uscannenbergmedia.com. Good night.